First of all, we have an officer from the CHP here with us. This is Officer Drake. Can we get a mic check there, Officer Drake?
Mic check, mic check.
Okay. Now, you're going to spend at least this hour, right, with us to answer questions and talk about traffic. Because, traffic, everybody loves to talk about traffic. I mean, what's more exciting than traffic?
Absolutely.
Right? Sitting there in traffic, people just love that stuff.
But only on a hands-free phone.
Don't call us on. You can have your passenger call, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, if you're driving, could you have your passenger? Because I drive with my daughter sometimes, and she could dial up the phone and she could hold it for me. Is that legal?
That is legal, as long as you're not holding and operating it.
Now, what if I'm yelling at somebody? What if I'm really intense and I'm yelling? Could I be ticketed for distracted driving?
You could be if it was affecting your driving. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We are sitting here with Officer Drake. Now, you're telling us some news from CHP. They want to let people know that this is motorcycle what?
This is Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month, as well as Bicycle Safety Awareness Month.
Oh, really?
Two-wheelers go hand in hand.
Ah, yes. Our friend over there, Phil, rides a motorcycle. He likes to split lanes dangerously, and I tell him, Phil, don't do that, dude. Don't do that. And we were talking about this off the air. There is no specific law, right, against lane splitting?
Yeah, in California, it's legal. It's the only state that allows lane splitting. It's completely legal, but there's no regulations surrounding it saying at what speed motorcyclists can split those lanes. Mm-hmm. So obviously, it has to be done with caution and with safety, but there's not a set speed. For instance, we can't, if you go over 45 splitting a lane, is that legal? Yeah. Is it safe? Probably not. So we have some recommendations. We recommend that you do it at 35 or slower, and only in stop-and-go traffic, so not when traffic is flowing.
So what happens if, like, say a car is switching lanes and this motorcycle is coming splitting lanes?
Yeah,
Whose faults that become?
That's a good question. At that point, we obviously look at the situation of the crash. If the car was moving lanes safely and was signaling and had already occupied that lane, then it would be the motorcyclist's duty to make sure he's splitting safely. And if the motorcyclist is already close enough to be a hazard, then obviously the car who's changing lanes has a responsibility to look and make sure that it's safe and there's nobody coming that's going to be a hazard. So it's a shared responsibility.
Is there always somebody at fault when there's an accident?
Usually, yes. Usually somebody is at fault. We look at the totality of the circumstances. We take statements. We look at vehicle damage. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we can't determine who's at fault, though, if there's no independent witnesses and one party's saying one thing and the other party's saying the other, and there's no way to substantiate the facts, then nobody's put at fault. But that's pretty rare.
Okay, so it is Motorcycle and Bicycle Awareness or Safety Month?
Safety awareness month.
Okay, so what does this mean? Does this mean to watch out for them, or they need to watch out for us?
Both. Both. It means that
all right.
Share the road, basically. Everybody traveling on the road needs to be safe, whether you're in a car, on a bike, on a motorcycle. We have a responsibility to share the road with everybody. Mm-hmm. So it's not only for motorists to be aware of those motorcyclists and bicycles, but the flip side too, the bicyclists and the motorcyclists need to be aware of the cars that are out there on the road, and everybody needs to follow the laws and make sure that they're driving safely.
What are some safety tips for bicyclists?
Make sure you're obeying the rules of the road. Bicyclists are expected to follow the same rules of the road as a car. So that means
hand signals?
They need to signal their turns.
Okay.
Yep. So unless they have, lit up turn signals, which most of them don't,
nobody does.
Need to signal their turns. They're expected to follow all the rules of the road, so they have to stop at stop signs. They need to stop at intersections, and basically pretend that they're a car almost. They need to follow all the same rules of the road that a car does.
They need to have headlights, taillights?
They have to have all the lighting. Yep, absolutely.
Reflectors?
Yes, reflectors. And then under 18 obviously needs to wear a helmet.
Oh, good point.
Do they are required within a bike lane to ride single file, or they can ride multiple?
That's another good question. That drives me crazy.
They are allowed to ride. Just like motorcyclists are allowed to split the lanes, bicyclists are allowed to ride 2 or 3 deep.
Really?
Because there's no law that prohibits more than one vehicle from occupying one lane of traffic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So even motorcycles could do that?
Absolutely.
And cars, if they fit,
would
be able to do it, but that doesn't happen with cars here. Okay, 479-1080 if you have any questions for Officer Drake. We're going to talk bicycle and motorcycle safety. We'll talk about Highway 17 traffic conditions as well. Let's move on to motorcycle safety. Some motorcycle safety tips.
Yeah, obviously motorcyclists need to have a DOT-approved helmet that needs to be worn at all times. It's recommended that they wear some sort of reflective clothing or reflective vest just to make sure that they're seen. And again, following the rules of the road, making sure all their lighting equipment is properly working.
What about loud tailpipes? That drives me crazy too. Is that illegal? Is there a limit on how loud they can be?
There is, yeah.
There is. You see, Phil? Him and his ilk. He's a motorcycle rider, and they always say, "Loud pipes save lives. Loud pipes save lives," and it drives me crazy. Why do I have to hear you from a quarter mile away?
So I'll be watching for him basically when we leave the station, right?
Right. We'll turn him in right now.
Yeah, just like in cars, the modified exhaust and the loud exhaust is not legal.
So, if it's so they can get cited for too loud of an exhaust, then.
Yes.
So how do you is it just a judgment call? Do you have a dB meter?
Could you even do anything without a dB meter?
That's hard to tell.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell. You know, with cars, it's really obvious to tell if they've had modified exhaust. It's loud. Normal cars aren't loud on the road. So when you hear that heavy, exhaust, you can pretty much determine that it's modified exhaust. Motorcycles are a little harder, but the same thing. If they're extremely loud, that's not stock. That's not standard. And that's not legal.
Okay.
479-1080-218-5726. We have some phone calls coming in. If you have a question for Officer Drake, we would love to get those. Highway 17 is a real mess, and mostly it's because of people who, I don't want to call them, I don't want to use a bad name. No, they drive like idiots. They might not be idiots, but they drive like morons, and they cause accidents, right? Now, what is the biggest issue on Highway 17? It's unsafe speed is definitely, I'm assuming, up near the top. Is that unsafe slow speeds and unsafe fast speeds? Because to me, I think that it would be nice to get rid of, to ban big rigs from Highway 17 during these rush hours, right? Because those things are going so slow. You come around a curve and bang, I mean, they're right there. They're right there. Cars do go fast there. Trucks go too slow. And I think it's an accident waiting to happen. And it does every day.
Yeah, you're right. By far, fast speed is the main cause of the crashes that we see. Those are pretty tight curves. People tend to go faster than what's safe. And then they usually, hit the center divide or hit the wall or hit the car next to them, which causes a chain reaction or a rollover. As for big rigs, their maximum speed limit's only 35 up there on 17.
Wow.
So they have to go slow. And I guess we can look at to ban them from 17. I mean, I don't see.
Harsh.
Yeah, they have to commute too. They're doing business and transporting all those goods and everything else back and forth. So
I understand that, but really, some guy sitting out there on Highway 17 for 2 hours in traffic doesn't want to hear that. It happens all the time. They could take 152 or no, they can't take 152. They could take 129 though in Watsonville, come back up this way. I don't know.
The traffic's just as bad that direction too. It's all over.
Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Traffic is bad everywhere.
And any plans to slow down traffic on Highway 17? Because I have a couple. Would you like to hear them?
Sure.
Okay. You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Number one, speed bumps on Highway 17. Around the turns, around the really tight turns, put them right there? No?
Probably not. The speed, think about it, speed bumps. What's the speed that you usually see those? They're usually in residential neighborhoods, which are 25.
They can make them big so they can fly right off.
Well, most of them are 45 around through there anyway.
Yeah.
Right, so no speed bumps.
No.
How about cardboard cutouts of cats and dogs? They pop out in front of the car. Get people to drive more cautiously.
I would imagine that would cause more crashes. Yeah.
I seem to remember on Highway 17 that there was actually a wooden cutout of a CHP car. Is that done anymore, or is that not? Was that just too crazy and they got rid of that?
We use dummy cars along with the sheriff's departments.
Really?
Not so much anymore because just the amount of staffing that we have. But the visual deterrent is huge. Whether there's somebody sitting in a car or not, your first reaction when you see any type of police car is to slow down, right? That's human nature. Yeah. That's what you're going to do, which gets the point across. What we want people to do is slow down. So we don't usually use the dummy cars. All of our cars, we have units dedicated to 17 all the time. And they'll patrol and sometimes sit and run speed or monitor. And hopefully when people see us, they slow down.
479-1080. We're sitting here with Officer Drake from the CHP. Anything else you want to cover there before we move on to our next call, or our first phone call?
No, let's take some questions.
Okay, coming up next is Kim in Aptos. If you have any questions for Officer Drake, give us a call or send a text message, of course, Facebook and Twitter also available. Let's head out to Aptos. Kim, thank you for your call. You're in the air.
Hey, thank you. Let's see. Let's talk about your noise level restriction on motorcycles. That law or rule, whatever it might be, regulation, a complete and total joke. There are people out there with motorcycles that have modified them to be loud. It is a law that is totally and completely unenforced. There's not a cop in the world that has a meter, I guess it's what, a decimeter, the thing that measures sound level, which is at so many feet, at so many decibels. And when you talk to cops about it, they just laugh and say, yeah, it has to be within a certain range, and if you look up the law, you'll see what that is. But it's unenforced, and there's nobody, it doesn't matter whether it's CHP or the county, nobody ever is able to enforce that law because it's so subjective, and they just don't want to deal with, becoming sound experts.
And thank you for your call, Kim, 479-1080, if you want to get on the air with Officer Drake. That's kind of what I was asking you, too. Is it even realistically enforceable? I mean, you would have to run around with a decimeter or something like that, right?
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. We don't have them. I don't know any of the PD departments or the sheriff that have them, for the officers on beat. So he's absolutely right in that aspect. It definitely could be enforced more have we had the right equipment.
Right.
They just give you a ticket.
You've seen people get busted for it?
I've got one. Fixed a ticket, but a long time ago, and one of my friends got one.
This is Phil. Phil says he saw somebody. Okay, all right. 479-1080. DM at ksco.com. Let's head out to Castroville. Joe, thank you for your call. You're in the air.
How you doing?
Good, Joe. What's up?
So, do you have to meet a quota every month, and they tell you got to write a certain amount of tickets as a police officer? They tell you, hey, you got to write up 20 tickets today or don't come back.
Or don't come back. How about that, Officer Drake? We've heard that all the time, right? Well, the officers, they have to meet a quota. That's why they gave me a ticket. Is that true?
That's absolutely false. Although it is a misconception that people have. They think that, we have to write XYZ amount of tickets, and at the end of the month, you're going to get more tickets because we have to hurry up and fill our quota. It's absolutely false. We don't have a quota. We're expected to be productive. There's days that we're taking 15 or 20 crashes and maybe we'll write 1 or 2 tickets. And then there's days that we write 10, 15, 20, 30 tickets or more. Just kind of depends on the area that we're working. But no, there's absolutely no quota. Nobody is telling us you have to write this many tickets. So that is false.
What ticket is the most satisfying to get somebody with? It has to be, is it the guy playing his music too loud? Is it the tinted windows? Is it somebody driving too fast and unsafe, right? Because they can hurt somebody. They can hurt a family.
Right.
They can hurt somebody who's has nothing to do with their idiocy, right? They can kill somebody.
Absolutely.
So which tickets do you think are the ones the most meaningful or the most fun to give or the most deserving? The most deserving?
Anything that's unsafe. I like distracted driving, cell phones and texting, because they're so distracting and so dangerous, and they cause you to just take 100% of your attention off the road. And I've seen it, and we see the aftermath of it, and it's usually somebody innocent who ends up getting hurt because somebody is texting or needs to check their Facebook status or post some Instagram video. So definitely distracted driving tickets I like. And then I also like DUI enforcement. I like taking those impaired drivers off the road before they can hurt somebody.
Now, was I imagining this, or is law enforcement focusing on distracted driving as well this month?
That was last month.
Last month. Okay,
yes.
well, I'm a month.
You're off a month, Dave.
So this month, though, is Bicycle and Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're sitting here with Officer Drake. If you have a question, let's get you online, 479-1080. Steve is up next, calling from Seaside. You're in the air.
Hey, Steve.
Love you guys, Dave, and thank you, Officer Drake, for having the courage to come out here and talk to people that have serious questions about their lives that they have to deal with every day on the road. I've been driving all the way from San Diego to Oregon, and I've never seen anything like it now. Is it just me? Am I the bad guy that says that giving all these unlicensed, illegal aliens the right to drive when all the accidents turn into hit and run accidents, and then they flee the scene.
What do you say about that, Officer Drake? People who flee the scene. First of all, does their status, immigration status, matter in traffic? Most traffic?
Yes and no.
Thank you for your call, Steve.
It's a good question. Obviously, with the federal limits that have changed, they allow now non-citizens to have driver's licenses.
Oh, that's right, huh?
Which is a good thing. We want them to have driver's licenses and do it the right way, because when they have their license and they're properly registered, then they're going to have insurance and they're going to have all the proper documentation and insurance and stuff that they need. As far as hit and run go, it's not only the unlicensed people. We see hit and runs a lot. People that really just don't want to take financial responsibility and step up to mistakes.
Is there a limit, like a statute of limitations on hit and run?
That's a good question. I want to say it's a year, but I would have to double check on that to make sure.
Because my cousin hit somebody, and I would like to turn him in if there's a reward, if I can get a reward for it. But it's been a long time.
The other party might reward you.
Yeah. 47910. Rules of the road. Okay, here's the situation, Officer Drake. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, use your imagination. Here we go. 4 people pull up to an intersection, a 4-way stop sign intersection. Or I guess blinking lights, doesn't matter. They pull up to a 4-way intersection. They all get there at the same time. Who goes first?
That's a good question, because, it would be the person who arrived there first. But if you all get there at the same time.
Exactly the same time.
The rule of thumb is the person on the right goes first. Well, if you all get there at the same time, you're all the person on the right.
Right, yes.
So I'd say the best thing to do is just make eye contact with the other people.
And whoever looks toughest?
Yeah, or whoever waves you through, or, is
or
paying
just
attention.
Creep out slowly.
Right, and just assume that they're not going to give you the right of way. So make sure that you make eye contact and somebody's waving. Usually you'll have somebody who, tells you to go on ahead, or you can make eye contact and tell them to go ahead. And yeah, that's a chicken or the egg question.
Listening to KSCO, serving Davenport, Carmel, and Tasajaro Hot Springs.
All right, you ready for some more questions? I see. Did I already ask you that one question, right?
It's a 4-way stop sign. Okay, what's your next question, Dave?
Let me see. I have another one, but I'll have to think about it.
What's the average of, how many accidents do you guys detail with a month?
That's, anywhere from 20 to more, 100 or more. In the rainy months, it's not uncommon to have over 100 crashes in a month easily.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, easily.
If you could burn one message into everybody's head, they said, this is what Officer Drake said, and what would that message be?
Put your phone down and pay attention to what you're doing. Pay attention to driving.
Phones are even a bigger threat than speeding now? You think, or they're equivalent now?
Distracted driving, think about it. You're taking all of your attention off the road. It'd be like putting a blindfold on and driving down the freeway at 65 miles an hour for 5 seconds.
Yeah, I've been a guilty one on that one, and it's like, you look at your phone or something, it's like, how do I get from point A to point B? I don't remember.
You don't remember.
I don't
and
remember
that's what's
at
scary.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Phones are extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So put your phones down and slow down. All right?
Yep.
Okay, let's head out let's see who's up next. Devin, calling from Capitola. You're in the air.
Yes, sir. Hi, officer.
Hello.
Okay, three things. Okay, you've obviously been very good enforcing the seatbelt laws since they came out. Okay, and that's a good thing. Although if you don't have a seatbelt, who pays the price except the person without the seatbelt? My pet peeve is people's lights not being on when they should be. And I want to know why it isn't enforced. I think it's on the driving test when the lights are supposed to be on, and then so much after dusk or whatever, something like that. And then also in the rain, if your windshield wipers are on, the lights are supposed to be on.
Right.
That's the law.
That is. Yeah, you're right.
That is a law.
Yeah.
So what are the laws regarding headlights, when they should be on and shouldn't be on? They can be on whenever, right? There's no law against it.
Correct. Yeah, they have to be on in hours of darkness. So he's right. Like the dusky hours when it's dark. Dusk is kind of.
It's questionable, but just turn your lights on anyways, right? Avoid the ticket.
And a lot of cars are automatic now, so they sense when it's getting darker
yeah,
and they
I've
go
noticed
on.
that. Yeah.
But he's right. Lights need to be on anytime it's dark, and lights need to be on if your wipers are on, then your headlights need to be on. It is enforced. You may not see it happening all the time. When it's raining, we're usually responding to some sort of call or some sort of crash. We do enforce the law, but we have to kind of take that on the scale of priorities when it's raining outside also.
Yeah.
Thank you for your call, Devin. 479-1080.
Yeah, I wish manufacturers would, just have it where when you turn the key on, the lights come on automatically. And, it's...
They do nowadays, right?
Most cars
do, but, there's still some ones. And I keep telling my son, hey, turn your lights on because people can see you way further than with your car
You're right.
without
And
lights.
in the rain, think about it. Like, if it's raining hard enough for you to need your wipers to see clearly, then you want to be visible and
More
you
visible,
want people to see you.
Right.
And when people don't have their lights on at night, that's a pretty good indicator for us that they might be impaired or under the influence when they don't turn their lights on.
479-1080. And then I would assume there's some times where it's just not safe enough to pull somebody over, right? Especially if it's something really minor, just what an idiot, and just keep driving, right?
Absolutely. You're very right.
479-1080. Okay, 218-5726. Also, if you want to text in your questions, I will read them for you. Hey, Dave, can you ask her why they don't ticket tailgaters or people that are in the number one lane and going too slow? Both of those drive me crazy. Tailgaters and going too slow in the slow lane, Officer Drake.
Yes. So tailgating, we do try to enforce that, especially on Highway 17. Anybody it's a following too close ticket is what it is. If you're close enough that you're not going to be able to stop safely, if the car in front of you has to brake or has an emergency, then you're following too close. There needs to be a good space cushion, and that it is a citable offense, and we do our officers do write that offense a lot, especially on Highway 17.
Well, yeah, but if you get one car space, someone's going to squeeze right in between you.
You're right, and that's realistically, that's what happens. In a perfect world, you want to have a 3-second space cushion, but we all drive out there. We know realistically that's not always possible to have that space cushion because somebody does come in. But what we look for is if the car that's tailgating has to keep applying the brakes to avoid hitting the car in front of them, not safe. If they have room to move over to pass the car and they don't, and they keep tailgating, not safe. Those could be reasons that we would stop and cite.
What about someone doing 55 in the fast lane?
Well, there's no law in California that says that the left lane is a passing lane only. A lot of other states have the law where it's a designated passing lane.
How do I change this law?
Write your legislatures.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know who they are, but I'll find out. That sounds like homework. Okay, you know what drives me crazy, Officer Drake, is barroom attorneys who will tell you, you ain't got to do nothing. You can have the dingle balls hanging from your mirror. You can't have anything hanging from your mirror, right?
Nothing that would cause an obstruction.
Right, nothing.
Right.
What are some of the other popular misconceptions that you've heard when people say, I didn't know that. I always thought this, that. You go, no.
Well, the quota thing, I hear that one a lot. Oh, that CHP gets money for writing tickets. That's a lot of people think that the CHP gets all this
state,
money.
Doesn't it?
It goes to the county.
Oh, really?
So it doesn't go to the state. The only tickets that the state receives money for is registration. Everything else, the money goes to the county in which the ticket was written. So we don't get any money. People think, oh, you're just out here because you want to make money for the CHP. I wish.
What if your turn signals are out, but you're still using your hand signals? Does the CHP officer have a right to pull you over?
No, that's legal as long as you're signaling your turn.
All right.
So you could get a ticket for not having your lights functioning, but as far as not signaling, as long as you're making some sort of signal, then that would be legal. Mirrors?
You have to have one has to be on the driver's side, right? And what about the other one?
The passenger side is not required. So as long as you have a rear view mirror and a side view mirror on the driver's side.
Except if you're towing. No, when you're towing.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so as long as one is on the driver's side, the other one can be either the rear view mirror up here by the windshield, right?
It has to be the rear view mirror. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you need a rear view mirror.
Wow. Okay.
Put one in, Dave.
All right. Oh, no, mine does, Kevin.
Uh-oh.
Thank you for that, Kevin. 479-1080. All right, let's see who's up next. Andrew in Monterey, you're in the air.
Hey, this is a great show. My biggest pet peeve is the people who drive at night with their running lights on and don't realize that their headlights aren't on. You try and flash them, they think, oh, I have my headlights on because I see light illuminating from the front of my car, which is barely any, and they don't turn on their lights. The running lights have gotten so bright that people think they're actually headlights. That was a side point. I want to bring up the point about distracted driving and people on their cell phones, which is actually, from what I read, more deaths per year than actual drinking and driving. So it's funny that drinking and driving has such a harsher penalty as opposed to driving with your cell phone, which is causing more and more deaths every year than drinking and driving. And people are just perfectly okay with doing it because there's not enough repercussion for it.
Boy, what do you say about that, Officer Drake?
Well,
thank you for your call, Andrew.
Driving distracted has been proven to be just as dangerous as driving with a .08 BAC. So it's just as dangerous as driving drunk. He's absolutely right there. I have a feeling that there's actually more accidents and deaths related to distracted driving than we know. So when we take a report, everything is logged. So we have to ask certain questions. One of the questions that we ask is, were you on your cell phone? Hands-free, not hands-free, all this. And people have to say yes, right? Unless we can prove that they were on their phone, which in cases where they cause a death, we do go back and look at cell phone records. Yeah. But if it's just a minor injury or no injury, we have to rely on their statements, and so they would have to admit to us that they were on their cell phone, which most people
are not going to.
They're not going to incriminate themselves and say, I caused. Some people do. Some are honest, but for the most part, they're not. So the number that we see is actually quite a bit higher, but we just don't have a way to prove it yet.
Right. Is there, since the marijuana laws went into effect, have you seen a lot more increase in DUIs?
Not as much as we anticipated. We did anticipate a big increase in the number of DUI arrests, but DUI investigation, whether it's marijuana or alcohol for the CHP, has not changed. We've always investigated marijuana just the same as we have any type of illegal drug or alcohol. So all of our officers are trained in advanced roadside impairment detection and evaluation. It's a long title, but it's called ARIDE. Every officer is trained in that. So we all are trained to detect drugs and marijuana. And then we also have what's called drug recognition expert officers who are experts. They've been trained above and beyond 40 hours at least of drug recognition. So they come in and they do an evaluation on the person, and they can pretty much pinpoint what type of drug they're under the influence of. So for us, we were expecting a lot more arrests, but I think because we've always been such heavy enforcers of driving under the influence of any type of drug, it's just something that we've always enforced. We'll have to wait and see. The law is only half a year old, we'll kind of have to wait and see and watch it a lot more closely for a year or so, just to see how the statistics kind of rank up with normal years.
479-1080, DM at KSCO.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We're here with Officer Drake from the CHP. And let's see who we have up next. I think we're heading out to Santa Cruz. Mark, thank you for your call. You're in the air.
Hey, great. And you had some wonderful guests over last week. It's amazing. This is a good one, too. My question in regard, you maybe answered it, but it's about running lights during the rain. Do you have to have your actual headlights on to be legal in the rain, or if your wipers are going, or would the running lights suffice alone? In case you forget, at least you have those lights on. How does that work?
That's a great question, but you do have to have the actual headlights on. The daytime running lights are not sufficient, so it does have to be the full headlight.
Well, I'm saying, so it won't work otherwise if you have the running light. So what's the point of the running light? Because I thought that was your safeguard,
Well, those are meant to run during the day. They're just what they say, daytime running lights. So they give you visibility during the day, but they don't activate the bright headlights. So you need to physically turn on, and they also don't activate your tail lights. So your headlights need to be on, so your tail lights are activated as well.
Thank you for your call, Mark. 479-1080. I was always told, and I'm going to sound like a total idiot, but I don't care. If I cared, I wouldn't, I wouldn't have anything to say. I always thought those were for running around, when cars were drive-ins were big, right? A drive-in theater. They were meant so this way you can navigate around there without blinding people, and and have some sort of light without being too bright.
It's possible. I doubt that they were designed specifically for that, but
I was a kid. Who knows? You could tell a kid anything.
That's a good kid theory.
479-1080. Ed is up next. Thank you for your call. You're in the air.
Hey, Ed.
Hey, guys. Hey, Officer Drake. Thank you so much for all that you do. We love the CHP.
Thank you.
I've had so many questions that my question has been changing as I've been on hold here because everyone's asking such great things. My first primary concern is, and I know you're working on this, but what can you do to work more with all of the bad drivers around here? I mean, it's getting worse. I commute to Watsonville from Capitola every morning, so it's wide open. There's no bumper-to-bumper traffic, and it is like a racetrack out there.
Yeah, you're right. I notice it when I'm driving off duty in my personal car, the behavior that people are exhibiting. I feel like people have gotten really aggressive with their driving. And I've noticed it within the last just even 9 years that I've been here. It just feels like the level of aggressiveness has really, really increased. And I think the number one thing that we can do is just change people's behavior, whether that's stopping you for doing something inappropriate, not always even giving you a ticket, but just stopping you and warning you of the dangers of it, stopping you and talking to you. Usually that sticks in your mind, and you get a ticket, you have to pay for it. It costs money. You get a point on your record. That costs money. Your insurance goes up. Sometimes people need that, honestly, to change that dangerous behavior. They think twice about it next time if they know, oh my gosh, this is going to be really expensive for me.
Oh boy, thank you for your call, Ed. Boy, Officer Drake, I feel like this is confession time for me. And you know what you're talking about is exactly right. One of I am so lucky to have been pulled over for DUI coming over Highway 17. I was just an idiot partying with my friend and had too much to drink coming over highway. I would have killed him and probably myself and somebody else. And I swear to God, it was, and I don't believe in God, but I swear to everything that's good, that was a blessing. And that needed to happen in order for me to open my eyes. I mean, it needed to happen.
I mean, I totally appreciate your honesty, and that's why we love doing this job. It's awful at the time, but you're absolutely right with saying that it could save your life, and that's what you needed for a wake-up call. Like, and when you're drinking, you're not thinking clearly. It's not like you intend to go out and say, hey, I'm going to be an awful person and get behind the wheel after I've been drinking. You don't think of it in that way. So, I mean, I really appreciate that you are honest enough to say, hey, I messed up. That's something that
it saved my life, man. It saved my life. And now I'm here to make amends or to do whatever. But holy cow, it was just an absolute
I think just saying that and having people hear you say that is huge.
479-1080. Let's see who's up next. It is the Wizard of Monterey. You're in the air.
Hello, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir.
I just wanted to say that, one, I have noticed a lot of people in Monterey are, shall we say, selfish on the road. Like they pull up to a stop sign, they take a quick look, they don't see any police, so they just drive right through. That is so frustrating. I've also noticed that quite a few people are wearing headphones or earbuds. And I pulled up next to a couple of them and said, hey, you can't have earbuds in while you're driving. And usually they tell me, what I can do about that. And the final thing I wanted to say is if I'm not mistaken, Dave, the another name for the yellow lights is fog lamps. So you guys have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the call, Wizard. 479-1080, DM at KSCO.com. Maybe on the other side of the break, I'll tell you about Wizard Gulch over in Monterey County, which is a pretty cool name. Let's see who's up next. It is Mark calling from Watsonville. You're in the air.
Yeah, I've been noticing on media reports and CHP reports, there seems to be an increase in the amount of hit and runs. Are you seeing that also?
We do see a lot of hit and runs. Again, it goes back to, I don't know the reason. I wish I could tell you why people do it. Most of it I can imagine would be, A, they're either impaired when it happens and they run, or B, they don't have insurance or they don't have the proper insurance and they don't want to take financial responsibility, or in the case that they don't even know that they hit something. in a parking lot, it's a good example. If you have a scrape or...
Do you face criminal charges if you don't know?
No. You have to be able to prove intent that they intended to leave the scene of a crash without exchanging information. So
479-1080, thank you for your call, Mark. When I read the CHP incident reports for traffic updates, I often see a lot motorcycle versus vehicle, and I think, oh my goodness, oh my God, oh no. And then I started thinking, I think a lot of this is motorcycles who are splitting the lane and probably hit somebody's mirror. Do you see a lot of that or no? Do you get a lot of complaints? Because there's nothing you could do about it. The motorcycles just keep on going.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to slow down. There's nothing you could do about it.
We see that. I wish they were all that minor, quite honestly. Most of them are more serious than just a mirror. But yeah, we see that, and it is from lane splitting, or a car is too close, or, the motorcyclist tries to cut it too close and clips the mirror.
Any funny animal stories? This guy wants me to ask you the funniest story with an animal. I can't imagine the CHP would have funny animal stories, but is there anything?
Oh, we have some funny animal stories.
Really?
I personally have a funny animal story. It involves a donkey.
What did he do?
Well, so my partner and I, we were working graveyard, so we were working overnight. And she's probably going to kill me for saying this story. So it was about 2 a.m. It was late. We were getting ready to go off shift at 4. Got a call of a donkey in the roadway on SoCal San Jose Road. So it's kind of a dark mountainous road. And usually when you get calls of animals, you go and they're not there anymore. But okay, we go check it out. And sure enough, there's this little donkey standing in the middle of the road. And we kind of pull up behind it and it trots. There's a mobile home park over on the side. And it goes into the driveway of the mobile home park. We call animal control to come get it, and they tell us it's going to be like 4 hours for them. So we're like, oh man, we can't just let this donkey roam because it's going to go back in. It's getting ready to be commute time, and this thing's going to get hit and cause an accident. So I grew up with horses. I get out of my car. I tell my partner, hey, I got this. I grew up with horses. No problem. So I walk over to the donkey, put my arm around it, try to lead it off, and he's totally cooperative at first until he wasn't.
I can imagine.
He turned around and just started hee-hawing at me, and I'm kind of looking at it like, what are you doing? And then he just chomped down on my arm.
Oh, wow.
And he wouldn't let go. And then, got into I was trying to get my arm free and get this donkey, and I didn't want to get kicked.
Yeah.
So we were kind of like G.I. Joe wrestling on the ground. Donkey would not let go of my hand. Finally, eventually he did let go, and he took off running. And then my partner and I got back into the car, and it was like Jurassic Park, where the dinosaur comes up to the window and he's breathing really heavily.
He came up to the car?
Yes,
wow.
He came up to the window, and he was looking in at us and breathing heavy on the window, and he was taunting us.
Yeah.
And finally, another deputy came and had a sandwich in his trunk at 2:00 in the morning and took the sandwich out, and the donkey was his best friend. He led it around and put it back in the corral. And
wow.
End of story. So I still have a scar.
Man, he really bit down hard.
He bit me hard.
Man.
It didn't hurt at the time. We were trying we were hysterically laughing, and we were trying to put our radio traffic out, and both of us are just choking back these tears because we're laughing so hard. And dispatch is like, confirm if the donkey bit your partner? It was hilarious. It's the best story I will ever have on this job.
The weirdest story I have as far as traffic and CHP and animals is when I first started, I remember reading a traffic incident where somebody had a camel wearing a green sweater on Highway 17, and it was slowing down traffic, and I was thinking, who the hell would do that?
Where do you even get a camel and a sweater
I know.
for it?
I don't know. Somebody must have knitted one, maybe? Somebody with a lot of time, right? That's weird,
I would have
right?
loved to see that. Yeah, that's weird.
479-1080, let's head out to Monterey. Reggie, thank you for your call. You're in the air.
Officer, have you ever pulled up two cars over at the same time to give a ticket to each one?
Yes. Yeah. That's it's not uncommon for us, especially with speed. If we see two vehicles, we wave them both over or direct them with our loudspeaker. It's something that happens commonly.
Do you ever have one of them split?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, it's hard to control the situation. Hopefully, we're able to get a license plate number if they decide to take off after the fact. We do our best if we want to make a double stop to try to get them both safely over to the side of the road.
If one guy splits and the other guy stays, do you tell the guy that stays you can go and go chase the guy that split?
I don't know. It would depend on the situation and what the reason for the stop was and all of that good stuff.
being a CHP officer with 2 cars over, I'm just wondering, how the heck do we do that? Anyway, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the call, 479-1080-DM at KSCO.com. Okay, so here's another one that I used to hear all the time, and that is CHP doesn't have a right to be on this road because they should be on the highway.
Yes.
And I go, man, what are you crazy? There's state officers. They can go wherever. Well, you go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't think about that at the moment. But you're right. People have the misconception that because we're highway patrol, that we only belong on. To them, it's the highway, but they're thinking of a freeway. Right. And it's a little confusing, but highways are any road. So any road that's designed for people to drive on is a highway. Therefore, any highway in the state of California, we have jurisdiction over. So, obviously the freeways, but there's a lot of areas that don't even have freeways that are all, county roads or unincorporated roads. And yes, we even can patrol in the city. Any highway in California, we have jurisdiction over.
479-1080-218-5726. Anything else you want to let us know? We have a few more minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. Anything else you want to let the public know?
Share the road. We were talking about bicycle. We talked about motorcycle safety and a little bit about bicycle safety. Make sure there's a semi-new law that passed a year or two ago about the 3-foot law for passing.
I was going to ask you about that too. Yeah, what is that?
So basically that's just stating that a vehicle has to pass a bicyclist with 3 feet of space. Which is easy to do, right? It's easy to give the bicyclist room. But what's confusing to people is when you're on like a windy road, like SoCal San Jose Road, and you don't have 3 feet of space, what do you do? People always want to know if you pass over the double yellows. Short answer is no. Never cross over double yellow lines. The rest of the law states that you need to pass with 3 feet of space or slow down to a safe and reasonable speed. So if you can't
So you could be stuck behind them forever?
Well, I mean, you got to use your good common sense, right? If you're on a
But you should not cross the double yellow. You can get ticketed for it.
You could, right?
Or you get injured.
Right, yeah. If you caused a crash, then that would be your fault.
One more question. I've been waiting for this. I can't remember. I can't believe I forgot this. What if you're sitting at a traffic light and the darn thing just keeps cycling through, never turns green for you? How many times do you have to wait before you can go?
If it never turns green, then treat it. If it's not functioning correctly, if it's really just staying red and not cycling, and you've waited a reasonable amount of time, I'd say wait till it's safe and then proceed through the intersection. Usually they'll start flashing if they don't function.
I've sat at some, and I just thought it was my car was too light to trip off the sensors, and I just sit through there for 3. I sit there for 3. That's my rule, and then go. And I figure if a cop pulls me over, I'll just tell him, hey,
it's reasonable, right? I mean, that's reasonable as long as you do it safely.
Thank you for your call.